Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We're going to get started here in a couple minutes. Please consider this a sound test. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We are going to get started here in a couple minutes, and please consider this a sound test. One.
We live?
We are live. Is there
Hello,
someone
everybody.
under our sheep?
We're here at Catskill Animal Sanctuary. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this beautiful Tuesday. I've made the mistake of bringing too many ginger snaps and not sharing enough over here. So I am currently being swarmed. Nina is also, I believe, showing up a little bit. She's right by the camera. Hi, Schmaticus. So thank you for joining us today. We are going to be doing our virtual sanctuary with the sheep, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But I just want to make sure I introduce the sanctuary before we get into all of that, since you might be tuning in for the first time. And if you are, do follow us on our Facebook and our Instagram, as well as our YouTube account. Hi, Schmaticus, you're so good. We do love you so much. So we're here at Catskill Animal Sanctuary, which is a haven for rescued farmed animals. It's hard to think with Atticus right on top of you. Oh, this would be better as a blooper reel. We are a haven for rescued farmed animals in the Hudson Valley. We've got about 300 rescued animals, from chickens and turkeys and ducks to our sheep, our goats, our cows, our pigs, here on our 148-acre property. We've been rescuing farmed animals from situations of neglect and abuse for 19 years now, and giving them a safe and loving home for the rest of their lives. So that they can be ambassadors for their species as we share their stories. Susie, Nina, what are we doing, girls? As we share their stories with the public, so that we can make a difference for more than just our 5,000 animals who we've rescued over the years, so that we can ultimately create a world that's safer for all animals. And a part of that. That's true, Nina. That's what we want. A part of that is through advocating for vegan living. So that's the work that we're doing here. Again, thank you guys for tuning in so far. Maybe, Talia, do you want to show your very good face to the camera? I'm sure a lot of people are just looking at your butts as I get swarmed at the moment. Over this way, ladies. So, hi, enthusiastic Talia. So why are we hanging out with the sheep today? Besides the sort of obvious fact that they are perfect in every single way, and we need to share their beauty with the world. That tickles Talia. We are also sharing them because lately they've been the stars of some of the programming that we've been doing. If you have ever been here for a public tour on a busy weekend, there's a decent chance that you have seen our sheep, exclaimed with glee about how adorable and sweet and amazing they are, and just wanted to give them a giant hug. There's also a good chance that when you saw them and had a great deal of enthusiasm for them, hi sweetheart, oh you're so perfect, that they ran away from you, because our sheep are such social animals, and they trust each other's instincts more than they trust strangers. So if a stranger makes one of them a little bit nervous and they flee, I know there's no ginger snap cookies in my mouth, I know. Then they're all gonna run away and stick together as a herd. But that is not to say that they can't be really, really trusting and just totally affection-seeking with people who they do know, right, Talia? That's right. You're perfect. Oh, you're so perfect. She has a very itchy head right now, too. So when we've been doing virtual sanctuary programming here lately, they're only really seeing me or Lauren on the other side of the camera, and they think that we are doing a day full of sheep cuddles, and so they have been the stars of the show for the Goat to Meeting program that we've been participating in, where Sweet Farm Sanctuary, friends of ours out in California, started up Goat to Meeting, where you can bring a goat, a sheep, one of our rescued farmed animal friends from all these reputable sanctuaries around the country to your virtual meeting, a better form of Zoom bombing. Hi, sweetheart. I'm just getting pummeled. It's a pretty good back massage, I gotta say, Davey. He's the only masseuse right in business at the moment, right? I know. You're not quite qualified, but that's okay. So we've been doing these go-to meetings, and it's been an awesome way for us to continue to support the sanctuary and to connect with people all over the country. We've also been doing our own private virtual sanctuary programming, where we're connecting with classrooms and families all over the place. And if you're interested in setting one of those up, you can contact Lauren at casanctuary.org, and we would be happy to set up a private virtual sanctuary directly through Catskill Animal Sanctuary for you. But all of this is to preface the fact that today is... Hi, I love you. Today is Giving Tuesday. Or Giving Tuesday Now, specifically. So typically Giving Tuesday is a date that follows Thanksgiving, which is a way for people to give back to the nonprofit charities whose work they value. But in light of a fairly unprecedented in modern times global pandemic, Giving Tuesday has an additional date today. Where folks are being encouraged to donate to their nonprofits of choice. We've been so incredibly thankful to see an outpouring of support lately by our volunteers, our supporters, and folks who are connecting with us for the first time but are deeply appreciative of the work that we do. And so we wanted to take today not to ask for donations, but instead to announce that we are giving back to our community with some of our... Hi, Davey wants me to give back my attention to him entirely. But we are going to be giving back to our community with some free virtual sanctuary experiences for essential workers and their friends and family. So, he just burped in my ear as well. I really thought this was going to be a calmer virtual sanctuary afternoon, but here we are with Davey butting in here. So if you would like to be nominated, or you would like to nominate someone to win one of our virtual sanctuary experiences, comment that person's name in our YouTube live stream feed or our Facebook post that went up today. And tell us why you're nominating whoever it is that you are. Talia is just gumming on my hands right now. You can nominate your loved ones, and you also should count as one of your own loved ones. So if you're an essential worker, please, you can nominate yourself as well, by all means. And we'll be announcing the winners of our Giving Back Tuesday on Friday. That is our little announcement. You could potentially win for one of your essential worker loved ones free virtual sanctuary experiences with us, and almost certainly that would involve beautiful Talia here, beautiful Davey, and whoever's behind me. Is it Zeke? It's Zeke! Zeke has really been really featured in goat meetings, and actually I think I have a cute photo we could put up of him getting so close to the camera that I have to lie on my back in order to get his face on camera. Right? Ooh! Okay, buddy? Oh my goodness, buddy. Oh. Zeke's having a bit of a coughing fit. He seems to be better now, but I just want to let you know. So now you've caught a little bit of a coughing fit.
So what's that?
Zeke. that we are letting animal care know that he was coughing. I think he just had some hay in the wrong spot, but it's always good to keep an eye out on everybody. And thank you for doing the live camera, Ziki. Do we have any questions so far? I know that we might. No, nothing? All right. Well, then I guess we'll talk about some of our sheep here. So,
But
right,
if you do think of questions,
by all
definitely
means.
pop them in the chat there.
Yes, please do. So we've got Talia here up front. Talia is winner of the best hair at the sanctuary. Feeling a little bit shy, but she's got some really, really great 80s bangs going on. And we've got Davy over here. Davy is one of those few exceptions to our general rule that we don't have any babies born here at Catskill Animal Sanctuary because we don't breed any of our animals. We want to make sure that we have enough space to welcome in all sorts of new rescues. I love you, Zeke. I do. I love you so much. We want to make sure that we have room to take in more of these amazing guys. So the only time a baby is born here is if their mom is rescued pregnant, and Davy's mom, Laverne, was indeed rescued pregnant. I love you, Zeke. Davy's mom, Laverne, was rescued pregnant, and shortly after rescue gave birth to Davy, who has had the pleasure of growing up here, which is why he's one of our lucky sheep who also has his horns still intact, and he has his full, nice, long sheep tail. You guys are too much. I hope you guys are all enjoying this because I'm having a great time. Do we have a question?
Two, in fact. Well, first of all, everyone loves Talia's bangs. She's growing out her quarantine bangs. But speaking of the hair, we have a question about how they manage in the summer heat from Kate. She wants to know if they overheat with their thick coats.
What's your answer to that, Stewie, who has just joined us? Stewie is also one of the big fans of getting right in front of the camera on our virtual sanctuary experiences. They do not love warm weather in general, but most of our sheep are actually going to have to be shorn. And so most of our sheep, especially sheep like Talia here, Davy, Stewie, you're right in the way. Most of them will have to be shorn because they've been bred to be woolly sheep who cannot lose their winter coats. They could, if they never got shorn, potentially be wearing at some point 6 winter coats. They've gone through 6 winters, and that could easily make them overheat in the summer. So they're going to get shorn in the next couple of weeks. Some of them can actually shed. Stewie can partially shed here. Don't be rude. Be polite to Talia. So Stewie can partially shed because he's the biggest mutt of them all, right? You're partly a woolly sheep, partly a hair sheep. And so his neck sheds a bit. But he is going to still have to get shorn to get the rest off. But where it's shedding, it's really, really itchy right now, and that just feels so good, doesn't it? Except for Talia's pulling my arm towards her to make sure that I'm petting her instead, because we are incredibly needy, aren't we? Yes, we are. Sheep are arguably, I would say, more in need of attention than dogs that I've met. These guys just love hanging out with us. We do have a few sheep, like Stewie, who was on our cover photo, or not Stewie, Ferguson, who was on our cover photo, where they actually are hair sheep and can shed entirely. And so they are in the process of shedding their whole winter coats. Lauren might be able to pan over and look at look at Lena, who's over by the cars and is really rocking her quarantine haircut.
So that is her in the, there she is, in the middle there.
And we're not gonna bring the camera closer to Lena for a good view because the sheep are a little bit nervous about the camera equipment that we have for our live streams here, just because it's a bit larger, and they are sensitive to changes, but they're getting more used to it. As you can see, they're pretty comfortable when it's standing still. So if Lena comes over, we'll get a better look at her quarantine haircut. But yeah, she's about 3/4 of the way through with shedding her winter coat. However, it is worth noting that just like in humans, oh, hi Schmaticus, coming through? Maybe. He's mostly looking at Lauren at the moment. And now he'll be looking at you. That's Atticus, also known as Schmaticus if you're me. So I will talk. Oh, we have a couple more questions, and then I'll talk more about what it's like for sheep who have to get shorn.
Yeah, so we have someone named Only Kindness Matters who is wondering about how the sheep recognize people's faces and if it's true that they can do so even if it's been a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So they actually will tell each other apart, in part visually, but they can also recognize human faces, and it's like how we look at them and can recognize their faces. Very distinct faces. To me, I think some of our sheep are actually some of the easiest to distinguish here at the sanctuary. There are certainly some species where to the human eye it's a little bit trickier to separate who's who within the same breed of like turkeys or chickens, but the sheep are pretty distinct looking in my experience, and so they're just looking for the same facial features and differences that we would be looking for in them. But they can absolutely recognize faces that they haven't seen in quite a while. I think it can be like many years. I forget the specific number of years that's been proven. We actually have one sheep here, Christopher, who recognizes Lauren's car at this point because he loves her so much. So he of course also recognizes Lauren's face, but he's so enthusiastic about Lauren coming to the sanctuary that he's picked out her car. Stewie's really shedding, so we're just gonna groom him while we chat. And Lauren is indicating to me that if I stop, I might be able to get Stewie to kick me.
But why does he do that?
Stewie will kick me to make sure that I start paying attention to him again. And he's learned that from Scout. You're not going to do the kicking? You're just going to do... Oh, there we go. There's the kicking. Just like a dog who's pawing at your leg to ask for attention, right? He's like, please continue. I don't know why you stopped. I'm right here in case you forgot. Yes.
So we have 2 more questions about the hair, but guess what? First, there was a joke asked in the chat.
Oh,
would you like to hear it? It is a Barbary family joke.
Yes.
We have some of our regulars here. Oh, where did it go? Hold on a second. Okay. Where do sheep go on vacation?
Where do sheep go on to Bollywood?
Okay. to the Bahamas. The Bahamas. There you go. Pronounced that right. But I suppose they could go to any place that has a nice long sound at the start.
That's a good joke.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so the questions about the hair. Do they like being brushed?
I do not think that there's a brush that really works well on their hair, I gotta say. So they don't mind after they're shorn, they don't mind some of the brushes. They can feel it better on their skin that way once their wool is shorter. But I don't know, we don't really tend to brush them. We tend to need to take our fingers and go right in and just kind of dig in there for a good back scratch. That's how you know a sheep is really enjoying themselves, when their head starts wiggling and it just feels so good that you can't help but wiggle your face, right? And they like when we are manually helping them shed as well. So yes. And did we have one more question?
Yes, so still on the topic of the hair. Their hair is so popular. Let's see, Susan would like to know if the wool you are pulling off the sheep could be used to make yarn.
Theoretically, yes. Zeke.
Oh, buddy.
What are you doing? 1 second.
Oh, buddy.
Zeke is coughing again.
Hey, buddy.
Okay, is it happening a lot? He stopped again, but it was fairly long.
Yeah, we're just, Kaden is checking in with our healthcare staff over the radio there, just to let them know that Zeke seems to have a bit of a cough, so that way they can keep an eye on him and make sure that's nothing to be concerned about.
Yep. Buddy, gotta make sure you're healthy. So could their wool be used to turn into yarn? Theoretically, yes, even if it is shedding. You can use collected pet hair, like companion animals, your cat or your dog at home sheds. You could turn that into yarn, just as you can turn most fibers. You could turn human hair, even theoretically, into usable fiber. What we do is we just kind of let it fly out into the wind. Ooh, sorry, bud. Fly out into the wind. We'll put it in the woods, and sometimes we'll donate to local wildlife rehabbers to use the wool for small animal bedding and nesting. And the reason is we don't want to turn their wool into yarn that's going to be used for humans in this case, because so many of our sheep, they're coming from situations where they were going to be ultimately they were going to be killed. And a lot of our sheep happen to have been from being farmed to be killed and eaten specifically. So like Stewie was never bred to be a wool sheep. He was bred to be on a farm where he'd be raised till he was, fairly young, somewhere between 6 months and a year and a half, to be killed and eaten. But a lot of the woolier sheep, they were bred to be wool sheep who, if they were on a wool farm and they were female sheep, they would be killed by the time they're 6 years old. And if they were boys, many of them would have been killed even younger as lambs, because the lamb industry is really sort of a partial byproduct of wool farming. So in our case, we want to encourage people to consider using plant-based fibers instead. Yes. We have a question.
I was just going to chime in as I think I'm the resident knitter of the sanctuary
Lauren
here.
is, yes.
Personally, what I do for a lot of my yarn is if I want to get new yarn, I will check my local yarn shop and see what kind of cottons and hemps and bamboos they have in. And generally they've got some pretty good stuff, or I'll order something online. I also will get a lot of my yarn from the thrift store, which, can be a little hit or miss because you never really know what you're going to find. But sometimes you find, a whole bag of the same color, in which case I always grab that up. And then you can find all kinds of stuff there. So, I love doing my knitting, of course, and I also just, want to make sure that I am helping to support, reusing things like from the thrift store, or people who are making nice yarns out of other materials.
And I should say, it doesn't seem, wool is sort of like eggs, in the sense of it doesn't always make sense why wool, which is just sheep's hair, why that might lead to unhappy outcomes ultimately for sheep, because we're a little bit separated oftentimes from what their lives look like, and they don't theoretically have to die for us to shear them. We have to shear our sheep every year, and they don't have to die. But one of the reasons, oh my goodness, I love you so much, Zeke. I do. One of the reasons that they're not kept very long on wolf farms compared to how long a sheep's lifespan can be. Like Junior, our 18-year-old sheep that we've got here, he's, he's very, very old at this point. But, he's still hanging in there. Stewie, I know. So it has to do a little bit with their teeth. So I want to show you a nice, healthy sheep smile. It's actually Zeke here. We've got 2 photos of Zeke, and we're going to take a nice look at his gummy mouth. Lauren will let me know once we've shown both photos.
Yeah, we've got one now of him looking up and grabbing a cookie.
Yes. Oh, that's one of his best skills, grabbing cookies.
Love those cookies.
So that one, you can see his tongue and his top of his jaw is just gums in the front. And then we've got another one where he's doing the Flehmen response. And the Flehmen response is something that they'll do in order to can I show my face? The Flehmen response is something that they'll do in order to get a better smell of things, and sometimes to pick up additionally on like pheromones and other hormones that other sheep might be secreting. We cannot show my face because these 2 are the stars. That's fine. And so when we look at their mouths, normally they'll have just teeth on the bottom in the front, and then they'll have molars on the top and the bottom and the back, and they'll just kind of grind away at their grassy food, their hay, and that's how they eat. But if you're on a farm and you're not getting regular dental checks, there's a good chance that, and you're also not brushing your teeth, there's a good chance that you're going to lose some teeth, and kind of fairly early on. Most of our sheep do have their teeth. We do have 3-toothed Talia, but besides her, 3-toothed Talia, and I think these guys might be blocking the view.
Yeah, they are.
We love you, Stewie. But most of our sheep do have some pretty good teeth. But if you don't have your teeth, and then you might be having a harder time getting all of the nutrition from the food that you're getting, especially if you're not getting specialized. I know, I'm still paying attention to you. If you're not getting specialized diets to help you meet your nutritional needs, like we do here for our oldies at the sanctuary. Everyone gets their unique unique meal plan. Then you might start to become a little bit malnourished. And if you're malnourished on a farm, you're more vulnerable to picking up an illness, but you're also not growing as much hair. Just like if we are dealing with another health issue, our hair growth might slow, the quality of our hair might decline. The same goes for sheep. So we'll see most often sheep on farms, they're kept around partially for a shorter period of time because they're not going to have as good of wool later on, and partially because a lot of the sheep on wool farms are girls. They don't want a 1-to-1 ratio of boys to girls, and the girls are used for breeding so they can sell lambs. But you're going to get tired out from breeding every year as well, so you might not be as effective for breeding. And so those are some of the reasons that wool farming looks a little bit like the way that it does. I think Lauren's telling me you can't see me at all, which is understandable and fine. I'm getting a lot of sticky butt.
We are running short on time, though.
Yes, so we are going to have to wrap up soon. Did we have any last questions before we do? No last questions? You don't want to know how Stewie and Zeke got so perfect? I don't really have the answer for that anyway. But
they just are.
They're wonderful beings. So if you want to get some more Zeke, and if I think Zeke's tail is wagging because I'm scratching him, which is just his little way of showing pleasure as well. He does have a docked tail, so he doesn't have his full tail, but it wags away. If you want to get more Zeke and Stewie time, maybe some Talia time, all of that, and win some free virtual sanctuary experiences for you and your loved ones, through us, nominate your essential employee that you love in our comments. We really are so grateful for everyone who's out there doing the work that still has to get done to keep us all safe, to keep us all fed, and to, just generally support our communities. So this is our way of thanking our essential workers. Hello, Neeners. We're about to lose a Nina anyway. So thank you again, everybody. Oh my goodness. We are gonna wrap up for now, but we'll be back on Thursday at 1 p.m. with Lauren, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.